A defection, a blood feud, and ambitions are pushing two terror organizations, JNIM and the Islamic State Sahel Province, into direct competition across western Niger. The outcome around the region of Dosso could determine whether Sahelian jihadist violence stays fragmented or consolidated into a wider regional arc. My name is Areski Dawood, and I am a geopolitical analyst and editor of the North Africa Journal. A rival jihadist war may be heating up in the Sahel, and Niger could be the place where the conflict could turn into a major strategic context. The latest reporting and claims suggest that the rivalry between JNIM, which is an Al-Qaeda-aligned network, and the Islamic State has moved past the theoretical stage as these two entities are increasingly colliding over the same corridors, the same local partners, and zones of influence, especially along the Niger-Burkina Faso border and into Western Niger. A series of seemingly isolated incidents may be part of a larger struggle for dominance. One of the clearer signals came from the defection of Sadou Samahuna, a senior JNIM commander who reportedly switched sides with hundreds of fighters early this year. A shift of that kind changes the balance of manpower. It creates a personal and organizational blood feud. JNIM's reported claim that it killed him later was, in my mind, an important battlefield announcement, a message that means that defection carries a cost. That message indeed carries real stakes, since both groups appear to be pushing into the same broader space. JNIM has long been stronger in parts of Western Niger and across the central Sahel, but the Islamic State branch has been essentially expanding along the Niger River and towards the Benin borderlands, where insecurity is rising and state control remains very thin. As the map tightens, the room for coexistence is shrinking. Niger's significance extends beyond geography. It carries a strategic importance because whomever gains ground there gets access to routes, to recruits, and of course, cross-border mobility. If JNIM holds the upper hand, it preserves its regional dominance and keeps pressure on rival factions. If the Islamic State branch breaks through, what happens is it strengthens the possibility of a larger territorial arc linking essentially the Sahelian zones to jihadist networks farther east, including, by the way, northern Nigeria. That is why Dosso carries so much weight. It sits in a space where influence can shift quickly and where a local tactical gain could become a larger operational breakthrough. If the Islamic State branch deepens its presence there, it could directly threaten JNIM's rear areas and force a broader response. If JNIM pushes back successfully, it may delay that expansion and keep the Islamic State network boxed in. So there's also a broader paradox here. JNIM is an extremist organization, but in this rivalry, it may function as a barrier to Islamic State expansion. JNIM's strategy tends to favor consolidation in certain zones, while the Islamic State branch appears more openly oriented towards territorial linkage and expansion towards coastal West Africa. So the competition does not divide neatly into stability versus chaos. It divides into two different versions of jihadist territorial ambition. I think this is what makes this development worth monitoring. The real story here, in my opinion, goes beyond two violent groups fighting. Their conflict could actually redraw the security map across the region, that is Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the northern edges of Benin and Nigeria. The next phase of Sahel violence may be defined by insurgent versus insurgent competition, not state versus insurgent warfare. And Niger may be where that becomes the clear starting point that, in my mind, is impossible to ignore.